The bride beneath the water. The wedding was supposed to happen at dawn. The boat was decorated with red silk and marigolds. The groom waited on the riverbank. But the bride never arrived. They found her sandals on the dock, her veil floating downstream, and beneath the water, something white, something moving, something that wore her dress. That was 40 years ago. Last night, my older sister put on a white owl dye. She walked to the river. She did not come back. And when I went looking for her, I saw two brides beneath the surface. One was my sister. The other had been waiting much longer. My name is Hyan, and I come from a village that the river has been trying to marry. We live on the edge of the Jongnai, where the water is slow and dark and deep enough to hide secrets. The old people say that a spirit lives in the deepest bend of the river. A spirit that was once a woman, once a bride, once someone who was promised to a man she did not love. On her wedding day, she walked into the water instead of walking to the altar. They say she is still down there, still wearing her white owl dye, still waiting for a groom who will never come. Every few years, a young woman from our village disappears, always before her wedding, always near the river, always wearing white. The elders call it an accident. My grandmother called it something else. The river chooses, she would whisper. The bride beneath the water wants company. She is lonely, and when she sees a girl about to marry, she reaches up from the depths and pulls her down. I did not believe in ghosts. Not really. But my sister Lan believed in love. She was 22 years old, beautiful, with long black hair and a smile that made the fishermen forget their nets. She had fallen in love with a boy from the next village, a quiet carpenter named Dung. Their wedding was set for the first full moon of the rainy season. Lan spent weeks preparing. She sewed her own dress. She wove marigolds into her hair. She practiced walking in the wooden clogs that would click against the dock as she stepped into the wedding boat. I watched her from the doorway. I felt a knot in my stomach that I could not untie. "Sister," I said, 3 nights before the wedding, "be careful near the river." She laughed. "I have walked beside that river every day of my life, Hyan. It knows me. The river knows everyone. That is the problem." She stopped laughing. She looked at me, really looked at me, and for a moment, I saw something flicker behind her eyes. Fear, doubt, something she had been trying to ignore. "What do you know?" she asked. I told her about the legend, the bride beneath the water, the disappearances, the white dress moving beneath the surface on moonless nights. Lan listened. Her face grew pale, but then she shook her head. "That is just a story, little sister. Old women's tales to keep girls from dreaming too big." She turned back to her dress. The needle flashed in the candlelight. "I'm not afraid of ghosts," she said. That was her mistake. We should all be afraid of ghosts, especially the ones who used to be human. The night before the wedding, the village held a ceremony to bless the marriage. Lan and Dung sat before the family altar, while the village elder chanted prayers and burned incense. The room was hot and thick with smoke. Lan's white dress hung on the wall, glowing in the candlelight. After the ceremony, the women gathered around Lan to braid her hair and paint her nails with red dye. They laughed and told stories. They spoke of children and gardens and growing old together. I sat in the corner, I watched, and I listened, because I thought I heard something outside, something soft, something wet, footsteps, bare feet on wet earth. I went to the window and looked out. The river was black and still. The moon was almost full, and standing at the water's edge, just at the edge, where the mud met the current, was a figure. A woman in white. Her dress was old, not modern, not the style Lan had sewn. It was the ao dai of 40 years ago, with wide sleeves and a high collar. Her hair hung loose and wet, clinging to her face and shoulders. She was not moving. She was simply standing, facing the village, waiting. I opened my mouth to call out. The figure turned its head. Its face was pale, too pale. Its eyes were dark, not black like night, but black like deep water, like the place where sunlight never reaches. And then it smiled. I have seen many things in my life, but that smile was the most terrible thing I have ever witnessed, because it was not cruel, it was not angry, it was lonely. The figure raised one hand. It beckoned. From behind me, I heard Lan's voice. "Hien, what are you looking at?" I turned back. The room was still full of women. Lan was sitting on the mat, her hair half braided, her eyes curious. I looked at the window again. The figure was gone, but on the windowsill, something remained. A single marigold, wet, fresh, as if it had just been pulled from the river. I did not sleep that night. I sat by the window, watching the river, watching the moon, watching the shadows between the bamboo stalks. The insects sang, the water whispered, and somewhere, far away or close, I could not tell, a woman was crying, not wailing, not screaming, just crying, softly, endlessly, like someone who had been crying for 40 years. At dawn, I went to Lan's room. Her bed was empty. Her dress was gone. Her sandals were still by the door. I ran to the river. The dock was slick with morning mist. The fishing boats bobbed gently in the current, and on the wooden planks of the dock, leading to the edge, were wet footprints, bare, small, a woman's feet. I followed them. They stopped at the end of the dock, and in the water below, just beneath the surface, something white drifted, a piece of fabric, caught on a submerged root. Lan's veil. I screamed. The village woke. The men dove into the river. The women prayed on the bank. Dung stood at the water's edge, his face grey, his hands shaking. They searched all day. They found nothing. No body, no dress, no trace of my sister except the veil and the wet footprints that vanished at the water's edge. At sunset, the village elder came to me. "Your sister is gone," she said. "The river took her." "I know." "Do you understand what that means?" I looked at her. Her eyes were old, tired. She had seen this before. "It means she is with the bride beneath the water," I said. The elder nodded. "And it means," she continued, "that the bride is no longer alone. She has a companion now, but she will still be hungry. She will still choose. And next time," she paused, "next time she may not take a bride. She may take someone else." "Who?" The elder looked at me. "Someone who comes looking." That night, I went to the river alone. I wore white. Not a wedding dress, just a plain white blouse and white trousers. I carried no lantern. I brought no weapon. I brought only the thing my grandmother had given me before she died. A small wooden comb carved with lotus flowers that had belonged to the drowned bride herself. My grandmother had been a young woman when the bride disappeared. She had known her. They had been friends. She was not evil, my grandmother had told me. She was afraid. Her family forced her to marry a man she did not love. She saw no way out, so she chose the river. "Did she drown herself?" I had asked. My grandmother had hesitated. She walked into the water, but she did not intend to die. She intended to escape. She thought the river would carry her away to a new life, but the current was too strong. The water was too cold, and by the time she realized her mistake, my grandmother had touched the wooden comb. She was already beneath the surface, and something in the water reached out and held her down. What? The river, my grandmother had whispered. The river itself. It wanted her. It has always wanted brides. She was not the first. She will not be the last. But she tapped the comb. She was the only one who fought back. She is not a ghost here. She is a prisoner, and the river uses her to catch others. I had not understood then. I understood now. I stood at the end of the dock. The moon was full. The river was black glass, reflecting nothing but the silver light above. I held the comb in my hand. "Sister," I called. "Lan, can you hear me?" Silence. "I know you are down there. I know the river took you, but you are still my sister, and I will not leave without you." The water rippled, not from wind, from something beneath. A hand broke the surface, pale, thin. Nails painted red, the same red Lan had painted the night before her wedding. Then a face. My sister's face. Pale, yes, but still Lan. Still the same eyes, the same lips, the same small scar above her eyebrow where she had fallen as a child. She rose from the water slowly. Her white dress clung to her body. Her hair floated around her like seaweed. "Hyan," she whispered. Her voice was hollow, echoing, as if it came from very far away. "Go home. I came to save you." "You cannot save me. The river has me. The bride has me. We are both beneath the water now." I stepped to the edge of the dock. The wood creaked beneath my feet. "Then I will bring you both up." Lan's face twisted, not in anger, in fear. "No, Hyan, please. Do not come into the water. She is not what you think. She is not trying to hurt us. She is trying to protect us." "Protect you from what?" Lan opened her mouth to answer, but another voice spoke first. From deeper in the river, from the bend where the water was darkest, a woman's voice. Old, sad, beautiful. "From the thing that lives below me." The water parted, and the bride rose. She was not a skeleton, not a monster. She was a woman, young, perhaps 25, with a round face and gentle eyes. Her white ao dye was intact, though faded. Her hair was long and black and woven with flowers that should have rotted 40 years ago but still bloomed. She looked at me, and she smiled. Not the terrible smile from the night before. A sad smile. A tired smile. "You have her comb," the bride said. "Your grandmother. She was kind to me. She was the only one who came to the river after I drowned. She left flowers. She left incense. She left this comb, my comb, as an offering." "I brought it back to you," I said. The bride shook her head. "I do not want it. I want what your grandmother promised me. She promised she would find a way to free me. She promised she would not forget." "She did not forget. She told me the truth. She said you are a prisoner." The bride's eyes filled with tears, tears that were not water, but something thicker, darker, like river mud. "Yes, I am a prisoner, but not of the river, of the thing that lives beneath the river, the thing that has been here since before the first village was built, the thing that hungers for brides, for young women on the edge of joy. It feeds on their hope, on their fear, on their love." Lan floated beside her. My sister's face was wet with tears. It took me, Lan whispered. On the night before my wedding, it called to me from the water. It wore the face of my future husband. It promised me happiness, and when I stepped into the river... Your sister was brave, the bride interrupted. She fought. She held on to her name. She did not become like the others. Others? I asked. The bride looked down at the dark water. There are many of us down here, women from centuries of weddings, women who were taken, who forgot their names, who became part of the thing. They are not evil. They are not ghosts. They are digested. Their hopes, their memories, their love, all consumed by the hunger beneath us. She looked at me. Her eyes were desperate. Your grandmother knew the only way to destroy the hunger. She knew that the thing cannot be killed with knives or fire or prayers. It can only be starved. How? By refusing to give it what it wants. By breaking the cycle. By... She hesitated. By replacing what it took with something it cannot digest. What cannot it digest? The bride reached out her hand. Her fingers were pale and wet. Truth, she said. Honesty. A heart that does not pretend. A love that is not a performance. I did not understand. Not fully, but I understood enough. I stepped off the dock. The water closed over my head, cold, dark. I opened my eyes beneath the surface, and I saw them. Hundreds of women, dressed in white, floating in the depths. Their faces were peaceful, but their eyes were empty, swirling with darkness, with the hunger that had consumed them. And at the very bottom, where the water turned to black, something pulsed, something large, something ancient, something with a mouth that opened and closed like a heartbeat. The thing beneath the river. The bride floated beside me. She pointed downward. That is the hunger. It cannot think. It cannot speak. It only wants. And every bride it takes gives it more want, more hunger, more strength. It has been growing for centuries. How do we stop it? The bride took my hand. Her fingers were cold, but they were real. By giving it a bride it cannot keep. A bride who speaks the truth. A bride who does not step into the water because she is afraid or lonely or tricked. A bride who steps into the water because she chooses to. Choose what? To be the last. I looked at Lan. She was crying. She shook her head. No, Hien, do not. I turned to the bride. I choose, I said. The thing beneath the river surged upward. Its mouth opened wide, wider than any mouth should open, wider than the river itself. It came for me. But I did not close my eyes. I did not scream. I reached into my heart, into the place where my love for Lan lived, where my grief for my grandmother lived, where my fear of the dark lived, and I pulled out the truth. I am not a bride, I said. I will never be a bride. I do not want marriage. I do not want children. I do not want the life that this village has planned for me since the day I was born. The thing paused. I came to the river not because I was tricked, not because I was afraid. I came because my sister, is worth more than any wedding, any tradition, any fear. I looked at the thing, at its endless mouth, at its ancient hunger. I am not your bride. I am not your feast. I am a witness, and I will tell this story. I will tell everyone what lives beneath the water, and no woman from this village will ever step into this river again. The thing screamed, not with sound, with pressure. The water boiled around me. The floating brides, the hundreds of women who had been consumed, they opened their eyes, their empty eyes suddenly filled with light, because I had given them something the hunger could not take. A story, a truth, a witness. The thing began to shrink, to collapse, to fold in on itself. The brides rose, not as ghosts, not as prisoners, but as memories, as names, as women who had once lived and loved and hoped. They rose through the water. They passed me. They touched my face, my hair, my hands. And one by one, they dissolved, not into nothing, but into the river itself, into the current, into the rain that would fall on rice fields and the mist that would rise at dawn. They became part of the world again, not trapped, not hungry, free. I woke up on the riverbank at dawn. Lan was beside me, alive, her dress wet, her hair tangled, but her eyes were her own. She looked at me. She smiled. "You are an idiot," she said. "I know. Do not ever do that again." "I won't." We lay there in the mud, holding hands, watching the sun rise over the rice fields. The river flowed past us, black and deep, but no longer hungry. The bride was gone. The thing beneath the water was gone. Only the water remained. That was 5 years ago. Lan married Dung. She has 2 children now. I am the aunt who tells them stories, strange stories, scary stories, stories that make them cover their ears and peek through their fingers. I tell them about the bride beneath the water. I tell them the truth. The river is not evil. The river is not hungry. The hunger was something else, something that used the river, something that used our fear, our loneliness, our desperation to be loved. It is gone now, but I still go to the river every full moon, not to search for ghosts, to remember the women who drowned, the women who were forgotten, the women who became stories instead of brides. I speak their names into the water, and somewhere, in the current, in the rain, in the mist that rises from the rice fields at dawn, they listen, they remember. They are not hungry anymore. They are at peace, and so am I.